Hi everyone. Today's story is from BestofRedditorsUpdate, from a throwaway account. Trigger warning: misogyny, homophobia, emotional infidelity. My 32 female husband, 34 male, is claiming that he didn't know my sister, 33 female, is gay, and is now saying he doesn't want our kids, 12 male, 8 female and 6 female, around her. Originally posted April 18, 2023. Me and my husband have been married for 9 years and have a son, 12, and 2 daughters, 8 and 6. I have very demanding job and work long hours, so my sister watches our kids on weekdays because she works from home. The schedule is that I get the kids up and drop them off at my sister's house at 6:30 and then go to work. My sister feeds the kids breakfast and gets them to the bus stop. After school, the bus drops the kids off and my sister gives them snacks and helps with homework until my husband picks them up at 5. I get home from work at 6:37. My sister and I are very close and I'm extremely grateful to her. She loves and spoils my kids. She's basically like a third parent to them. I pay for all her groceries and my kids help her around the house in return. On Monday I got an urgent call from my husband after he picked up the kids. He said that I needed to leave work immediately so I could come home to have an emergency discussion with him. I panicked and rushed home because he wasn't answering any of my calls after he hung up. When I got home, my husband proceeded to dramatically tell me that my sister was gay. Apparently, when he got to her house, her girlfriend was there and they kissed in front of him. I actually laughed when he told me this because my sister has been out since I was a teenager and her girlfriend and her have been together for 3 years. He is claiming that he thought her girlfriend was just her friend and that mentions of her being gay were just jokes. My sister's girlfriend doesn't come to a lot of family events because she travels for work and our family doesn't really talk about her being gay that often. Still, I can't believe that he wouldn't have figured this out in the 13 years he's known her. It's been so long that I can't remember if I ever verbally told him that she's gay. My husband said that he doesn't want her around the kids anymore because she will influence them and wouldn't explain what that meant. I told him that I wasn't going to cut my sister out and he said I could still see her but not the kids because they are too young. I asked what the hell he expected to do for childcare if we couldn't use my sister, and he suggested I take a week off work while we figure it out, which I absolutely cannot do. I didn't want to yell at him in front of the kids, so I said I was going to take a walk to calm down and we would discuss this later. When I got back, my daughters were crying and my son was upset. He told me that their father had told them they weren't allowed to see their aunt anymore because she was having personal issues. I blew up at my husband and told him that he was being bigoted and selfish and that I wasn't going to cut my kids off from their aunt who loves them because he was too stupid to notice that she's gay. Then I packed the kids up and went to stay with my sister. I have no idea what to do. I love my husband and I don't want a divorce, but there's no way I'm gonna cut my sister off. I can't believe my husband didn't know she was gay, but I don't know why he would lie about this. He's never said or done anything homophobic before. I know I shouldn't have yelled at him like that, but I was furious that he said that to the kids. Any advice would be appreciated because I'm at a complete loss here. TL. Duck. My husband is claiming he didn't know my sister was gay despite knowing her for 13 years. He is now saying that he doesn't want to allow our kids around her even though she helps out with the majority of childcare. Relevant comments. From Van Hoother: homophobia by itself is bad enough. Homophobia directed at your own flesh and blood is beyond tolerating. What's he going to do if one of your kids comes out gay? I know it's a notorious Reddit response, but this time I think it's justified. Dump him now. OP replied: I didn't even think of this. I feel like I didn't make it clear enough in my post, but if he turns out to be bigot, I am 100% done with him. I'm just at a loss right now because this is so out of left field. I feel really guilty and stupid right now because I've been racking my brain trying to remember if he's shown signs of this, but I'm coming up empty. Another comment from Psych Know-It-All: how in the hell have you never had discussions about LCD key issues? You haven't discussed politics/bigotry/gender identity/sexual orientation before having kids, or has he hidden this all from you? Some serious introspection is needed if you've never discussed it, especially before kids. If he's been hiding it, then time to work out where it's come from, and if there is any likelihood of him leaving those views in the past, doesn't seem likely. One other thought: is it actually that he's trying to use this as an excuse to prevent you from working? Is it part of coercive control attempt? Is there anything that's happened that might have triggered him to try to cut you off from the outside world? OP replied: I have talked about LGBT stuff with my kids before. They know about gay and trans people and being accepting to them. I've been with my husband so long that I can't remember if we ever discussed this kind of stuff before. I guess I just assumed he didn't have a problem because he's never had an issue with my sister. I asked my son and he said his father hasn't brought up anything bigoted to him before. I think you're right and I'm due for a deeper conversation about LGBT issues with my kids. Comment from Saint_Blaze: could he have an ulterior motive, like he wants you to be a psalm and thought you'd buy into a contrived situation? OP responded: maybe. I would have said no before, but now I don't know. We had a fight couple months ago where he was mad because he didn't like how late I got home from work because he has to make dinner every night. But he dropped it, so I thought that was settled. I make more than him, and if I quit my job we would probably lose our house, so I really question this logic. But then again, I don't understand his logic about my sister, so all bets are off. OP updated the original post. Edit. After reading the comments, I think that unfortunately you guys are right. This is so out of the blue that I was looking for reasons as to why he might not be a bigot, but I think he just is. If it comes down to him or my sister, I am choosing my sister. At this point I am so upset with him that I don't know if I would take him back if he came begging on his knees. He said what he said and he can't take that back. To answer some questions, we don't really talk about politics because he doesn't really engage. I will mention something and he'll just respond okay or uh-huh. Our life has been so hectic lately that we don't have a ton of alone time together, and when we do, we don't talk about politics. We live in a pretty liberal area and he's never expressed any right-wing beliefs to me before, so I never thought that he had any different views. My sister being gay doesn't come up that much. Her girlfriend isn't around us or our kids a ton, and my sister's sexuality isn't a topic of conversation because it's just something that is. Like, she's gay and that's that, so it doesn't really get discussed. I talked to my sister and she said that they don't really interact that much. When he comes to get the kids he will usually just say hello and nothing more. He's been ignoring my calls and texts, so I'm going to go over to our house tomorrow when I know he's home and have a discussion with him. I'll post an update. Thanks for all the advice. April 21, 2023, 3 days later, OP posted an update. This is an update to a post I made earlier. It got removed, but I posted the original text on my profile if you would like to go and read it. So it turns out a lot of you are right and my husband was lying about not knowing my sister was gay. He wasn't answering any of my calls or texts, so I went over to the house when I knew he'd be there to talk. After we sat down I said that the only way I would even begin to consider working this out was if he gave me the reason why he was suddenly acting like this, agreed to go to couples and individual therapy to work on his hurtful views, and apologize to me, the kids, and my sister. He started saying all the same stuff about my sister being a bad influence on the kids and not being in line with his moral compass. I got fed up and told him to cut the bullshit right now and tell me what was really going on, or I was gonna walk out and he would never see me or his children again. I've never spoken to him like that before, and I think it rattled him because he spilled the whole story. Long story short, he's been having an affair for the past year. Now that I think about it, makes sense. I thought that maybe he was pulling away from me, but I figured it was just stress from work and kids. He admitted that when he had to go into the office on weekends it was just an excuse to see her. Sometimes he would take a half day at work to go and be with her until it's time for him to pick up the kids. In his words, he was neutral about my sister being gay until his girlfriend opened his eyes. Apparently when he mentioned my sister to her, she was shocked and started sending him lots of podcasts and YouTube videos on the subject. So for the past year he's been falling down a right-wing rabbit hole and I had no idea. He said that he knew I wouldn't accept his new beliefs, so he was forced to hide it from me. He also admitted that he's been wanting a divorce for a while, and not just because of the affair. After watching the videos and podcasts, he started to resent me because I'm not a traditional wife who stays at home to cook, clean and take care of the kids so that he can relax after work. He said that seeing my sister kiss her girlfriend was the final straw because he realized the extent what his children were being exposed to. So he pretended to not know about it and made it this giant issue. In his mind this was the perfect solution because he could finally make me see things his way and become a stay-at-home mom, or I would divorce him and he could come away looking like the good guy. Then he said he's going for full custody to protect his kids. I'm not super proud of it, but I flipped out at him. I called him a lot of names and told him that it'd be a cold day in hell before he even got 50-50 custody. I said if he wants to talk to me again he'll have to contact my lawyer. Then I stormed out before I could smack him or something. In all honesty, this is a total nightmare and I feel like I'm partially to blame. 13 years together and I didn't notice he was changing overnight. I didn't think he was the type get sucked into this sort of thing, but I guess he's stupider than I thought. I also never expected him to be a cheater either, so maybe I didn't know him as well as I thought I did. On the other hand, the comments on my last post have made me do some thinking and I realized I was not very happy in our marriage. A lot of people were asking what we even talk about, and the honest answer is we don't. We started dating when I was 19 and he was my second ever boyfriend. About a year in, I remember I was feeling unsure about our relationship, and then bam! I got pregnant with our son. It all happened so fast too. He proposed to me and I said yes. We had never discussed marriage before, and looking back I'm pretty sure I would have said no if I wasn't pregnant. We had a long engagement, but we were basically married right after because I moved in with him immediately to raise our son. God, I feel so stupid. I think I was pretty naive at the start of our relationship. I never thought to have any in-depth conversations about politics, family and religion. I'm realizing now that I was mostly staying in the marriage because it felt easier than the alternative and better for my kids. I genuinely thought he was a good man and father. Now I'm remembering tons of different moments in our relationship that I brushed off and fights we had that all add up to a bigger picture. I think part of why I've been so frazzled and exhausted lately is because he was literally doing the bare minimum and leaving me and my sister to pick up the slack. I don't regret the marriage because it led to my kids, but I regret not seeing everything sooner and getting out. Right now my kids are my #1 priority. When I got back I sat them down and we had a long conversation about their father, his views and LGBT rights in general. I made it very clear that I would support them no matter what. I am also looking at getting all 3 of them in counseling to help them deal with this. We are temporarily staying with my sister while I sort out the divorce. We have separate bank accounts, but I need to figure out how to sell the house because I don't think I can afford it alone and he definitely can't. There are some townhomes opening up in my sister's neighborhood that I'm gonna try for so my kids can walk to her house. My sister has been so supportive during this entire ordeal. She and I had a long talk about everything with lots of hugging and crying. I feel awful for bringing a bigot around her and I don't think I can ever repay her for all of the help and love she has given me and my children. She and her girlfriend have been helping out with the kids and the divorce stuff. Since her girlfriend is currently in town, I decided that I wanted me and kids to get to know her better, so this weekend we are all going to the museum and hopefully take my kids' minds off everything. What I'm most worried about is custody. I don't want my soon-to-be ex-husband and his girlfriend anywhere near my kids, but I'm not totally sure what to do. He's still their father and I don't want to keep them from having a relationship. I'm going for full custody, but should I ban him from seeing them entirely? My son and older daughter are very upset with him. My son doesn't want to see him at all and I'm not going to make him if he doesn't want to. I'm sorry that this is long and kinda rambly, but it feels nice to get my thoughts down. This whole situation has been overwhelming, so again any advice going forward would be appreciated. I might update in the future after everything is settled to let you guys know how things are going. But in the meantime I would like to thank you all for the helpful comments and messages. Relevant comments. Comment from Dry_Ask5493. Wow, the audacity and hypocrisy. He has become a giant misogynistic poss with a typical stroke your ego narcissistic girlfriend that helped him see the light. That is quite laughable if it wasn't so tragic for you and your kids. I think you need to get an attorney ASAP and do what you can to, at a minimum, ban your husband's mistress from being around your kids. But absolutely go for full custody and force a sale of your home. I do think that you and the kids should move back into the house and your husband should be the one to go if he can't hack it. I would argue that it is detrimental to be around such morally bankrupt individuals, adulterers and bigots. OP responded, I have an appointment with a lawyer on Monday. There is no way in hell I'm letting his mistress anywhere near my kids. I want to sell the house as soon as possible and get him out there. If he wants to be like this he can go stay with her. I'm not sure about moving back into the house because I'm scared he'll show up when it's just me and the kids. I think my sister scares him a little, which is why he hasn't shown up to her house. Chaka Penguin also commented, this is wild if true. Your husband is a spineless moron if he's letting some side chick change his moral/political views with right-wing propaganda. Men like him want a trad wife, but they don't make trad money. Did he even think far enough ahead to calculate how much he'd need to earn to single-handedly support a 5-person family? Or was his plan to pull himself up by his bootstraps? What's even crazier is that he's willing to give up his family for a side piece. Last I checked, having an affair, getting a divorce, and starting over with your mistress is not in the traditional family values handbook. OP replied, I still don't get his logic. If I quit my job we would lose our house, so I don't understand what his plan was. I feel like an idiot for not seeing his true colors sooner. Our next story is from r/malicious compliance. Oh, we're changing procedures, again? You got it. I work in tech support, but basically a call center fixing computer problems. So when someone calls, we record their information. Everything from their name, to the reason for the call, to the solution. During a team meeting, one of my higher-ups, we'll call her Paula, announces if a client calls back about the same problem in a short time, whoever ultimately fixes it gets full credit for the work. For context, I'm not here to be super IT. I don't care about the credit. I work my 8 hours a day and collect my check. That's it. One day I get a call. The client says they were just on the phone with someone else, and they told them to call right back. I look up the coworker's name, John. He just went to lunch. I ask the client if they want me to transfer them to the John's voicemail. They say, can you just help me, NP? I'm familiar with their problem and fix in it 20 minutes. I adjust the record for the problem to my name. I add John's name as a footnote so he still gets partial credit. Fast forward, John gets back from lunch, comes up to me and demands to know why I took his name off the record. Tells me he spent an hour on the phone with that client and he would appreciate if I would let him know if I touch his records. Mind you, John and I don't speak. He's cold towards me and we only interact when absolutely necessary. Today, he doesn't even say hello. He just starts in on me. I wait a moment and calmly explain how I got the call. The client didn't want to wait, and how I followed procedure. I also pointed out that I added John's name as a footnote for partial credit, which is not required to do. John says, "Oh, I didn't see that," and leaves. No apology, just a mumbled thanks as he walks away. In our next team meeting, our boss tells us from now on, whoever speaks to the client first gets full credit. I asked her to please clarify because Paula told us otherwise. She reiterates the announcement, says this is how we're doing it. I hope that makes sense, and quickly moves on. I can see where this came from, but I hold my peace. More background: John's approach is to rush through calls to increase his calls taken metrics. My approach is to make sure the client is taken care of before the call ends. So, a few weeks go by, and things take an unexpected turn for John. When a client calls back for a problem that was previously marked fixed, I restart the record and only add my footnote. This causes the record to go back into the original agent's workflow for processing. Since John doesn't take the time to read the footnotes, he's reaching out to me for updates before he marks the record fixed again. I take my time to respond because I've already made the info available in my footnote. Not only that, but some problems require him to call the client back to confirm the problem is actually fixed. He went from talking to me once a quarter to once a week. So now, he's doing twice, sometimes 3 times, the work, all because he wanted full credit for partial results. Our next post is from r/relationship advice. Wife 27 female and her family kept her affair hidden from me. 31 male. Best way to go about it for me? Thinking about serving my pregnant wife with divorce papers at her parents' house on Thanksgiving Day. Backstory is that I've been married to this woman, Becky, for 4 years now. 3 weeks ago she meant the world to me. I would have done just about anything for Becky, but now I don't even see her as a human. I've always wanted a family, and she knew this before we got married. She also had the same goals in life for us. After getting married, she decided that she didn't want to be a mother, and I was hurt but accepted her decision. We purchased a small farm after getting married, and Becky decided that would be her full-time job. We really were blessed to be living the beautiful life that we were living. Becky wants a thoroughbred horse for 6 figures, no problem. Becky wants to import a herd of Brahman cows, because regular cows look boring, no problem. Becky wants a brand new diesel truck every year to drive into town, no problem. I had no issue providing all of these things, because I knew her first love was taking care of animals. I knew that's what made her happy. A few weeks ago her best friend, Emily, wanted to know if I was available to meet her, because she wanted to tell me something. I figured that she had a surprise for Becky and wanted my help or something. Emily came over to the house when Becky was away, and basically handed me a file with the evidence of my soon-to-be ex-wife's affair. Becky had been having a full 8-month affair with a married veterinarian. Emily and Becky have been best friends for over 10 years, so Becky tells her everything. Emily let me look over the file, and then told me about the affair. The highlights of the affair were that it was with someone who bills me hourly for thousands of dollars. The same man I see in church, where my father-in-law is the pastor, and shakes my hand while me and his wife are clueless. Becky and him sleep together in what is supposed to be our house daily. Almost every time Becky goes on a trip, it's with her lover and not her friends. Becky deliberately sent me 2 states away to pick up a trailer, so she could have the house to herself and her lover. All the new girly clothes and heels are for this man and not me. The icing on the cake is that Becky is currently pregnant with her lover and not me. I know this because she admitted it all through text to Emily. She admitted to keeping the truth hidden from me. Emily also knows Becky had a conversation with her parents, who are supposed to be very high-ranking religious people in our little town. Her father, who's the pastor, encouraged his daughter to keep the truth hidden about everything to protect their image. The worst part is I was so excited about this news, and now my friends and family know. I can't believe someone can be this evil to do something like this. Becky has already started to set the room and make changes to the house. The thing is that it's been weeks since I found out about this. I've used that time to get my ducks in a row for divorce. She has zero idea that I know what's going on behind my back. I also took this time to confirm and get video evidence of the affair. I've already hired my divorce lawyer, who's not even from our town. Luckily, my state isn't a community property state. According to my lawyer, I will probably come out pretty well, especially with all the evidence we have on her. I've already had a listing agent look at the house/farm and give me an idea of what I can get for it. My question is about my plan for ending this. For Thanksgiving, we usually have a big service at her father's church. I want to look into her father and mother's eyes and have them lie to me about their daughter. My plan is to have the divorce papers served at my ex-in-law's house right before dinner. Her entire family will be there, from siblings to grandparents to friends, including Emily. After she is served and realizes what is going on, will be my time to leave. My best friend doesn't think this is a great idea. I think he's looking after my safety since most of her family carry, and he doesn't want me to be outnumbered. Personally, I don't think I'll be in any harm. The other less exciting option is just to do this at our house, and see what happens from there. Not sure which route to go down. After this is over, I plan on leaving this town and not looking back. As for why Emily is turning on her, I believe it's jealousy. Emily isn't married and isn't that well off financially. Emily could have told me 8 months ago, but waited all this time. I'm not sure what to think. If all this sounds scattered, I apologize. My mind is all over the place and lacking sleep. Our next story is AITAH for exposing my ex-fiancé's mistress 12 years later. Originally posted to r/AITAH on June 24, 2023. Reposted on November 19, 2024. 12 years ago, I, 36 female, was engaged and about to get married to Carl, fake name. Everything in my life seemed perfect until I found out my fiancé was having an affair with a new hire at his job called Camilla, 20s female. Both of them were in serious relationships. I broke off the engagement with Carl as soon as I found out and told Camilla's boyfriend about the cheating. Well, it was hard for me, but I moved on after months of therapy and the help of my friends and family. Now I am married to Henry, 41 male, my amazing husband and father of our 4 children, 9F, 7M, 4M, and 4F. I moved to the other side of the country years ago, and I never thought about my ex-fiancé or the cheating again. My husband works in a law firm. Last year they hired a new lawyer, Daniel, 34 male, who moved with his family to live in our area. He and my husband became very good friends, as they have similar interests and personalities. Henry asked me to invite Daniel's family to our house to help them adjust to the new city and job. When Daniel came to my house for a playdate for our kids, his kids are 4M and 2F, he introduced us to his wife, Cam, 30s. Well, Cam was Camilla. I really didn't know how to react when I recognized her. I had the impression that she also recognized me. Our husbands didn't understand why everything seemed so tense, and we pretended not to know each other and made failed attempts at small talk. After an hour, Cam made up an excuse, and her family left. Henry noticed my behavior and asked me what was happening. I told him everything. He already knew about my past with Carl and the affair. Later that day, I received a text from Camilla begging me not to tell Daniel about our past. I read the message and didn't reply, but I decided not to say anything and mind my business. This was not my problem anymore. After a week of silence, Daniel showed up at our doorstep looking very agitated. He talked to my husband alone, and afterward, Henry asked me to tell Daniel my version of everything. Like my husband, Daniel realized something weird had happened at our meeting and spent the week trying to get answers from his wife. She refused to tell him what happened and then tried to say I was her ex-boyfriend's side chick and that's why we were so tense. Daniel didn't buy her story, and they had a massive fight. After the fight, he realized I was the one who could tell him the truth. And I did tell him everything after he asked. I even showed him the text message Camilla sent me. I didn't feel the need to sugarcoat things, since Camilla was out there telling lies about me. Daniel was in complete shock because cheating is a trigger for him. His father cheated on his mom for years and left the family for his mistress, which made him hate cheaters. Camilla knew about this since their first date. Daniel left our house looking defeated, and on the same day, I received a call from Camilla accusing me of being a revengeful bee. She said I was trying to destroy her life. I don't think I was wrong for telling the truth, but this happened last year, and I received calls and random messages from people close to Camilla saying I am an asshole for exposing Camilla's past to her husband. AITAH? EAP replied to a comment. Funny thing is that after our engagement broke off, she did try to date Carl, and he kicked her to the curb. I heard this from mutual friends. EAP posted an update, November 20, 2024. I posted this on the AITAH subreddit. Since this happened a year ago and some people want to know what happened since then, I just decided to post this on my page. First, this is not a fake story. The only thing that's fake are the names. I am not AI either. Second, I don't think cheaters must be punished forever. While I would probably never want to be close friends with Camilla, after the initial shock, I would have no issues being civil with her. I don't think she deserves to live through hell because she was awful years ago. I also don't think she was the worst person. Carl definitely was. He was the one who was about to marry me, but she was a willing part of the affair, and she knew me from their office. Also, everybody there knew Carl was living with me and we were engaged. Third, Camilla got my number from Daniel's phone. I have a pretty uncommon last name and my name is not popular either. Daniel got my number from me. Henry gave me his contact to set up a dinner date to introduce our families. I texted him. We had already met a few times at the office and at my house when he came by with Henry. Daniel texted me back about setting up our plans for the kids' playdate, and that's that. My husband didn't give Camilla my number. At the time this all happened, my husband had seen her just once while at the office with Daniel. The fact that Camilla had access to her husband's phone is not weird to me, her actions were. The update. Daniel and Camilla are not divorced. After leaving our house, Daniel stayed at a hotel for a while. Then he got back to his house, and they started doing couples therapy. The harassment through calls and texts lasted over a month. Henry was about to send a cease and desist when he decided to talk to Daniel about this. Daniel handled it. What I know through Henry is that most of Camilla's flying monkeys didn't know the full story, and when Daniel set things straight, they stopped. Camilla emailed me months after, apologizing. I accepted her apology, but we are not close, and I didn't feel like her words were genuine. Most likely, she wants to save her marriage. Talking about their marriage, Daniel and I talked some months after this at a party at my house, and I told him that I felt terrible for my part in their marital problems, and he reassured me. Daniel said that they were already having issues before we met. It seems like she wasn't happy about moving here and leaving her family on the other side of the country. Also, they were having money problems because their old state has a higher cost of living. Since Camilla left work after she got pregnant with their second child, they had less money, and cutting costs on their lifestyle was making them fight. State made sense because it was a better position with a good raise. I don't know much else about it, just that recently Henry told me that Daniel was depressed after a big fight they had about Thanksgiving. Camilla wanted to travel to their old state to stay with her family, and Daniel wanted to visit his mother, who lives closer. Everybody in the office knows about their fight since Daniel asked to stay at a coworker's place. Daniel told Henry directly that he would start divorce proceedings because, during their last fight, Camilla was talking about taking the kids and moving back closer to her parents. He said that she will not have full custody of his kids. That's basically all I know, and I don't really know if Daniel will go through with the divorce. That's it for now.